At my mom's funeral, my fiancé smirked and said, "Finally, we can sell her house for our wedding." 40 relatives heard her. I froze in shock, then told her to leave, and when she refused, my uncle, a cop, dragged her out. I was standing in the middle of my aunt's living room in Cleveland, Ohio, still wearing the same black suit I'd worn to bury my mother 3 hours earlier, when my fiancée, Lena Caldwell, 28, opened her mouth and detonated my entire life. And not quietly. There were around 40 people in the room. Family, neighbors, my mom's old co-workers from the elementary school library. Everyone still smelled like rain and dirt from the burial. People were drinking coffee, whispering condolences, trying not to fall apart. It was one of those moments where grief sits heavy in the air, like everyone is breathing through a wet blanket. Someone, not even sure who, asked me what I planned to do with my mom's house. I hadn't even thought about it yet. I hadn't thought about anything yet. My brain was still stuck in a loop. Mom's gone. Mom's gone. Mom's gone. Before I could answer, Lena laughed. Actually laughed. Then she said, loud enough to echo, "Well, finally, now we can sell the place and use the money for the wedding." Honestly, this timing couldn't have worked out better. I swear the world stopped. No clinking glasses. No quiet crying. Nothing. Everyone turned toward her. Even the kids. And Lena just kept smiling. Genuinely confused as to why the room didn't erupt in applause. I felt my heartbeat slow to this thick, pounding thud. My hands went numb. I didn't hear anything. Not even when my younger sister dropped the plate she was holding. My Uncle Marcus, off-duty cop, 6'4", not great at hiding anger, stared at Lena like he couldn't believe she was real. My aunt covered her mouth. My dad looked away like he couldn't watch. But Lena just doubled down. "I'm serious," she said. "We don't have to do a budget wedding anymore. Your mom would want us to start our life right." I don't know what happened in my face, but something in me snapped clean. I heard myself say, "Get out." Flat, dead. Not even my voice. Lena blinked like I'd slapped her. "What? Dylan, don't be dramatic. You're not thinking straight right now." My uncle stepped forward. He said, "Leave." She crossed her arms. Actually crossed her arms like a brat denied a toy. "No, I'm not leaving. Someone here has to think practically." She said, "Practically." At my mother's funeral, where my mother had been in the ground for less than half a day. My uncle's jaw flexed so sharply I thought a tooth might crack. "Ma'am," he said, slipping into his cop voice. "You need to go. Now." Lena turned to me then, waiting for me to rescue her, defend her, something. I didn't move. So Marcus took her by the elbow and walked her out while she shrieked about everyone overreacting, about how she was trying to help, about how this was supposed to be a good day. A good day. That was the moment the silence in the house changed. It wasn't shock anymore. It was something harder, something cold. I stepped outside because suddenly I couldn't breathe. I sat on the porch where Mom used to drink her morning coffee and watched Lena's car peel out like she was fleeing a crime scene. My phone buzzed an hour later. A text from her. "I'm sorry if it sounded bad. We need to talk about the house. Call me." I blocked her. I thought that was the end of it. I thought I'd already seen the worst of her. But I hadn't. Not even close. Because 5 days later, after I thought things had finally calmed down, my sister woke me up by banging on my bedroom door with panic in her voice. "Dylan," she whispered, "you need to get up now. Lena's here." And she didn't come alone. She had a lawyer, and a list of demands, and one massive secret she'd been hiding from everyone, including me. People always ask how someone like Lena manages to get this deep into your life. The truth is simple. You don't see the rot until it's already inside the walls. I met Lena 2 years ago at a bar near Ohio City. She wasn't loud or obnoxious like the groups that usually filled the place. She was polished, perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect smile. The kind of woman who walked into a room already expecting it to like her. I was immediately out of my league, or at least that's how I felt. Back then, my life was stable but small. A tea job, quiet apartment, weekly visits with Mom, the occasional beer with coworkers. I wasn't lonely exactly, but I wasn't doing anything exciting either. Lena changed that fast. She liked to take control. Picked the restaurants. Picked the date nights. Picked the vacations. At first, it felt like confidence. She told me she loved how low maintenance I was. I told myself she meant it as a compliment. The first real red flag should have been the way she talked about the future. Not our future, hers, with me slotted in like a piece of furniture. She'd say things like, when we move into a real house, when I redesign our kitchen, when we upgrade our cars, when we have the wedding everyone will talk about. And always, she mentioned my mom's house. It started subtle. I love that neighborhood. I can totally picture kids playing in that yard. If your mom ever downsizes, we could fix the place up. My mom never warmed to her, but she didn't fight it either. She was polite the way you are with someone you hope will grow on you. Still, even early on, Mom would ask, "You're sure she's the right one?" And I'd always say yes because admitting doubt felt like failing. When Mom got sick, pancreatic cancer, brutal and fast, Lena acted supportive, at least on the surface. But even then, there were cracks. She complained about me being emotionally unavailable. She rolled her eyes when I canceled a weekend trip because Mom needed help. She called my siblings dramatic for crying too much. And one night, about a week before Mom passed, she made a comment I brushed off at the time. "It's horrible what's happening, but at least things will finally be settled soon." I thought she meant closure. Now I know she meant the house. On the morning Mom died, I was at the hospice center. I called Lena. She didn't answer, didn't call back for 5 hours. When she finally texted, it was, "Are we still doing brunch with my parents?" That should have been the moment I ended things. But grief fog makes you stupid. 6 months into our engagement, she'd taken over everything. Venue choices, guest list, color schemes. She even planned our engagement photo shoot without telling me. She liked the idea of us, but she didn't care about the parts that made me me. She loved the version of me that fit her aesthetic, her timeline, her future. Not the real me. Not the son who sat through chemo sessions. Not the man shaking at 3 a.m. because he was scared to lose his only parent. I ignored all of it because I wanted the relationship to work. Because Lena made it look good from the outside. Because life was easier when someone else took the wheel. But the thing about giving someone control over your life is that they start to believe they're entitled to it. And when my mother died, Lena didn't just cross a line. She sprinted over it, burned it behind her, and then demanded I thank her for the path she cleared. What I didn't know then, what I was about to find out, was that Lena had been planning something behind my back long before that funeral. Something that didn't just involve the house. Something that involved me. And the lawyer she brought to my door? He wasn't there to talk. He was there to claim. When my sister woke me with that panicked knocking, I thought maybe something had happened with the estate, or another relative had shown up unannounced. I was not prepared to see Lena standing on the porch at 7 a.m., dressed in a cream-colored blazer like she was heading to a business meeting. And next to her stood a man holding a leather folder, cheap suit, tired eyes, the kind of guy who prints his law degree at home. My stomach dropped. "Dylan," Lena said, like we were in the middle of a normal conversation. "We need to clear things up before this becomes a bigger mess than it needs to be." My brother stepped between us immediately. "He doesn't want to talk to you." Lena's expression tightened, like someone had dared to inconvenience royalty. "I'm his fiancée. I have every right to be here." "You're not anymore," my sister said. "Move along." The lawyer cleared his throat, trying to look professional. "Mr. Hale, I represent Ms. Caldwell in regards to certain, shared assets." "Shared assets?" "We lived in separate apartments. We had no joint accounts. We weren't married." "What shared assets?" I asked. "The home your late mother left behind," he said with the confidence of a man who didn't read past the first Google result. My siblings actually laughed. Out loud. Lena didn't. She stared at me with that calculating expression she always got when things didn't go her way. Tight smile, narrowed eyes. Like she was rearranging pieces on a board only she could see. "Dylan," she said. "We made plans. Real plans. You promised me stability. You promised me a future. That house is part of that future. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me so my siblings wouldn't have to hear anymore. But they stayed pressed to the windows anyway. I never promised you my mom's house, I said. She scoffed. Maybe not with words, but the understanding was there. Understanding. She made it sound like my mother died to fulfill some bargain. Her lawyer spoke again. Under Ohio law, an engaged partner may have equitable interest if future marital assets were. My front door opened and my sister cut him off. Shut. That's not real. That's not a thing. Who sold you that nonsense? Lena shot her a glare. This is between adults. No, I said. This is over. You need to leave. That's when Lena's whole demeanor shifted. She dropped the fake warmth, dropped the sadness, dropped the mask. She went cold. You're not thinking clearly, she said. You're grieving. You're being manipulated by your family. You need me, Dylan. I'm the one who kept your life stable. I'm the one who made your future possible. I stared at her. My mother died, and your first thought was how to profit off it. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Even he knew how bad she sounded. Lena's voice sharpened. You owe me. I invested 2 years into you. I supported you. I built our future. And I will not let you walk away with everything while I get nothing. There it was. No love. No heartbreak. Just ownership. She thought she owned my life. I stepped back inside and closed the door. Locked it. She started pounding. My Uncle Marcus arrived within 10 minutes. Someone had called him. Maybe all of us had. He walked up to Lena like she was a problem he'd already solved a dozen times. Ma'am, he said, you're trespassing, and you're harassing the family of a deceased woman. Leave or I escort you. Lena stared at me through the window with pure venom. This is not over. And she meant it. I could feel the promise in her voice. She wasn't done, not even close. What I didn't know then was that Lena hadn't just shown up to demand money. She'd been digging into my mother's life for months. She'd been talking to someone behind my back. Someone who knew things they shouldn't. Someone who had given her information she never should have had access to. And the first hint came 3 days later, when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice. Calm. Almost too calm. Is this Dylan Hale? Yes. I think you need to know something about your fiancé. My heart stopped. She came to see me 2 months before your mother passed. She wanted something from your mom's medical file. And she paid me to get it. I stepped outside onto the porch because suddenly my lungs felt too tight. The voice on the phone was steady, like she'd rehearsed this call. I shouldn't even be reaching out, the woman said. But I couldn't stop thinking about it after I saw the obituary. I'm sorry for your loss. Who is this? I asked. A pause. My name is Kara Whitmore. I worked, as an administrative assistant at Lakeside Oncology, my mother's cancer clinic. Every hair on my neck stood up. Kara took a shaky breath. I met your fiancée Lena twice. She came into the clinic about 2 months before your mother passed and said she needed some documents for insurance coordination. That doesn't make sense, I said. Mom handled her own paperwork. I know, Kara whispered. But Lena was persuasive. She said she was acting on behalf of the family, and she had some information about your mother that made it seem like she was telling the truth. My voice felt stuck in my throat. What information? That she had stage 4 metastasis. The exact date your mother's chemo started. The names of her attending physicians. I pressed my hand to my forehead. Lena hadn't known any of that. Not from me. Not unless, Kara continued. She gave me cash. $800. Asked me to make a copy of your mother's treatment schedule and her current prognosis notes. My stomach dropped. Why? Why would she need that? Kara hesitated. I didn't ask. I should have. But she said it was for insurance and people do stuff like that all the time. Paperwork gets lost. Family members handle things. I didn't think much of it. But you're calling now. Because, she said, voice trembling. After she left, something felt wrong. She wasn't sad or stressed. She was excited. I remember that so clearly. like she'd just walked out of a bank with a winning lottery ticket. I felt sick. She came back a week later, Kara said. This time she asked if I could confirm whether your mother was expected to survive more than 6 months. I leaned against the porch railing because the ground felt unsteady. She framed it like she needed to know for medical leave requests, but it didn't feel like that at all. It felt like she was calculating something. My blood went cold. She wanted to know exactly how fast your mother was dying, Kara said softly, and I'm pretty sure she was planning around it. I didn't speak. Couldn't. Kara continued, I'm telling you this because I saw her name in the obituary guest log. It made me feel sick. And then I saw your mom's house listed for probate online a few days later and, I don't know, I felt responsible. I thought you should know she was digging into things she had no right to. I managed to ask, why didn't you report it? I was scared. I needed the job. And she told me something. Something that didn't make sense at the time, but now I think you need to hear it. What? Kara swallowed audibly. She said, exact words. It's important I know the timeline. My future depends on it. My future. My future. I ended the call without saying goodbye because I couldn't keep it together. I sat on the porch steps staring at the cars parked on the street. The same street I learned to ride a bike on. The same driveway my mom used to wave me into when I came home from college. Lena hadn't just been waiting for my mother to die. She'd been planning for it, strategizing it, preparing herself to swoop in the moment the house became mine. She had known my mother wouldn't make it past summer before I even let myself believe it. And then something hit me so hard I actually stood up. Lena must have known my mother's prognosis before I did, which meant someone else had told her. Someone with access to information she had no right to. But before I could make sense of any of it, my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. You shouldn't be talking to people about me. You have no idea what you're stepping into. It wasn't signed. But it didn't need to be. It was Lena, and she knew exactly who had called me. I didn't tell my siblings about the phone call right away. Couldn't. Not yet. I needed to get my head straight before I dragged anyone else into the ugliness Lena had created. But I did call the one person who could think clearly when the rest of us couldn't. Uncle Marcus. He showed up to Mom's house 20 minutes later. Didn't knock. Just walked in, grabbed a coffee mug from the cabinet like he lived there, and sat across from me at the kitchen table. You look like you saw a ghost, he said. Worse, I said. I saw Lena. I told him everything. Every word Kara had said, every detail Lena had dug out of my mother's medical files, the text I'd gotten afterward. Marcus didn't interrupt once. He didn't even blink. He just listened with this slow, steady, dangerous calm. When I finished, he exhaled. She's not just greedy. She's deliberate. I know. No, he said, leaning forward. You don't. This isn't normal gold digger crap. She wasn't waiting for your life to get better. She was waiting for it to get worse. A chill crawled up my spine. She was tracking your mother's decline, he continued. She wanted to know exactly when that house would become available. That's why she contacted the clinic. That's why she pressured you about the wedding. She was timing her life around your mom's death. Hearing someone else say it out loud made my stomach turn. So what do? I asked. She's already trying lawyers. She's already harassing the family. She's trying to get people fired. She's escalating, Marcus said. Which means you need to prepare. Prepare for what? For her to get worse before she gets desperate. I rubbed my eyes. I'm exhausted, man. I know. And that's exactly why she thinks she can win. You're grieving. You're vulnerable. She thinks she can push hard enough that you'll cave just to make her go away. She's wrong. Good, he said. Because if she keeps this up, it's time to flip the script. I frowned. Meaning? Marcus pulled out a small notebook. We're documenting everything. Every call. Every text. Every time she shows up. Every time she contacts your siblings or your job. I nodded slowly. For a restraining order? For a restraining order, he confirmed. And potentially more. False police reports. Harassment. Attempted fraud if she tries to list your mom's house again. We're building a file thick enough that no judge will blink. I felt my chest loosen for the first time in days. Okay. But that's just the defensive plan, Marcus said. We need to talk about the offensive. That made me look up. Dylan, he said. You can't keep reacting to her. She thinks she knows all your moves before you make them. So you need one she can't anticipate. What kind of move? That depends on how far you're willing to go. I hesitated. I'm not trying to ruin her life. She's trying to take yours, he replied. And your mother's legacy with it. I swallowed hard. Marcus slid the notebook toward me. Here's what you need to do. Step 1. Secure everything. Freeze your credit. Change your passwords. Set up two-factor. Alert your HR in writing about her attempts to intervene. Secure every document related to your mother's house. I nodded. Step 2, he continued. We find out who helped her. She didn't learn your mom's prognosis on her own. His eyes narrowed. And step 3, we hit her where it hurts. Not illegally. Not vindicatively. Just consequences. Real ones. The kind you don't walk away from without rethinking your entire life. I didn't know whether to feel scared or grateful that Marcus was this calm about dismantling a person who had tried to dismantle me. But then something occurred to me. Something Kara said. Someone told Lena things she had no business knowing. Someone close. Someone with access. Someone who hated me enough or liked her enough to help her. The realization hit me so hard I actually stood from my chair. Holy shit. Marcus looked up. You know who it is? I think so, I said, voice shaking. And if I'm right, Lena wasn't acting alone. My uncle folded his arms. Then it's time to find out what they want. I thought the person helping Lena had to be someone connected to the clinic. A nurse with bills to pay. A clerk looking for easy cash. But the more I sat with it, the more something else bothered me. Something Kara mentioned without realizing its weight. Lena didn't just know Mom's prognosis. She knew exact dates, doctor names, and treatment cycles. Information I didn't even know at the time. Someone had given her more than paperwork. Someone had given her my mother's entire medical timeline. And that meant it wasn't a random clinic employee. It was someone who had been tracking me right alongside her. Someone who had access to details about my schedule, my relationship, my family. Someone who should have been in my corner. It hit me hard. Too hard. There was only one person in my life who had shown a weird amount of interest in my mom's treatment timeline. One person who had always made comments about my relationship being good for me. One person who started asking questions about Mom's house before she even got sick. My coworker, Adam. My supposed friend. The guy I carpooled with twice a week. The guy who met Lena before any relative did. The guy who once joked, half serious, that getting married young is the smartest financial move you can make. The guy who, only a few months earlier, had made a cryptic comment. Some people get lucky. Sometimes life hands you opportunities you weren't expecting. I thought he was talking about promotions. Now I knew he wasn't. The next day at work, Adam was already waiting at my cubicle when I arrived, leaning against my chair with a coffee in hand like he owned the place. Dylan, he said brightly. Man, you look rough. Everything okay? I stared at him. Something flickered in his expression. Something too quick to catch if you weren't looking for it. A brief flash of tension, guilt, or recognition. Yeah, I said, watching him carefully. Been dealing with a lot since the funeral. He nodded sympathetically. Yeah, real tragedy, man. I know Lena's really stressed too. She says you've been shutting her out. I felt the ground tilt. Lena had been talking to him. Of course she had. Did she tell you that? I asked. He shrugged casually. She just worries you're not thinking logically right now. I told her grief does weird things to people. You just need stability. Something to anchor you. Like her. I asked. He studied me. Well, she's trying, you know? She's really invested in you. There it was. Invested. Not loved. Not cared for. Invested. An investment needs return. I lowered my voice. Adam, what exactly did she tell you? He hesitated. He thought too long. Way too long. Nothing major, he finally said. Just, she felt blindsided, and she didn't expect you to push her away when she thought you were building a future together. My jaw tightened. Did she ever talk to you about my mom? About her illness? His eyes flickered again, just for a split second. Then he tried to play dumb. I mean, everyone knew she was sick. You told me yourself. No, I said quietly. I didn't. Adam stopped breathing for a moment. Then he said, Look, Dylan. Sometimes people see opportunities you don't. That's life. My skin went cold. That phrase. That exact phrase. He had said it months earlier. Before Mom's diagnosis. Before everything fell apart. And suddenly I understood. Adam wasn't Lena's friend. He wasn't my friend either. He was the one who told her when Mom's health turned. He was the one who fed her my schedule, my situation, my vulnerabilities. He was the one who told her how the estate would likely be divided. He was the one who told her how inheritance laws worked in Ohio. He was the one who gave her the confidence to plan her entire future around my mother's death. And then he said it, too casually, like it wasn't the most horrifying sentence he could have chosen. She was worried she'd miss her window. Her window. Her window. I stepped back from him. You were helping her, I said, before my mom even died. Adam didn't deny it. He didn't apologize. He didn't even look ashamed. He just sighed like the conversation bored him. You're overreacting, he said calmly. You and Lena were building something. She just needed some guidance from someone who understands strategy. I was trying to help you both. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my teeth. You helped her plan around my mom's death. Dylan, he said, lowering his voice. Life is about making smart choices. Lena saw potential. You should be grateful someone believed in you enough to see what you could offer. I felt sick. He believed he'd done nothing wrong. He believed I should thank him. I walked out of the office without a word. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't even drive. If Adam was involved, if he helped Lena plan all of this, then this wasn't just a greedy fiancé. This was a calculated partnership. Two people building a future using my grief as the foundation. But the worst part? Adam had access to something Lena didn't. My work system, my employee records, my benefits, my emergency contacts. Every piece of info she needed to dismantle my life from the inside. And I suddenly understood the one thing Marcus had been trying to warn me about. Lena wasn't acting alone. And I wasn't just fighting her. I was fighting both of them. Two people who thought my mother's death was a business plan. But they had no idea that the one thing grief gives you, the one upside to all the pain, is clarity. And I knew exactly where to strike next. I didn't confront Adam right away. I didn't confront Lena either. Marcus was right, this wasn't a fight you rush. This was a slow, deliberate dismantling. Still, I needed answers. I needed to know why. Not for closure, there's no closure for something like this. But because you can't defend yourself without understanding the depth of what you're fighting. So I dug. And what I found tore the last remaining softness out of my heart. It started with a conversation I wasn't expecting. 3 days after the encounter with Adam, I got a call from HR. Not about Lena. About Adam. Dylan, the HR manager said. We need to ask you about something odd. Your emergency contact was changed last month. It used to be your sister. Now it's listed as your fiancé. My blood ran cold. I never changed it, I said. I didn't think so, she replied quietly. The update was done from Adam Westbrook's workstation. I didn't speak. And, she continued, someone accessed your benefits file the same day. They looked at your life insurance details. I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles went white. Life insurance. A $250,000 policy my mom insisted on helping me get after college, just in case. A policy Lena had once casually asked about, making it sound like an innocent question about adult responsibilities. A policy that paid out to the emergency contact if no contingent beneficiary was listed. And I had never added one. Marcus and I sat in his living room that night. He let me talk until I ran out of words. Then he asked, when did you tell Lena about that insurance? I didn't, I said. He leaned forward. Then she heard it from someone who had access to your file. Adam. Everything snapped together like a trap closing around itself. Mom's diagnosis, my work schedule, my inheritance laws, my benefits, my emergency contact, my life insurance. They weren't just planning for the house. They were planning for me. And Lena didn't want me dead, not physically. No, she wasn't that dramatic. She wanted me dependent. Emotionally, financially, legally. She wanted my name tied to hers so tightly that leaving her would be more expensive than staying. And Adam wanted in on the plan. Why? That answer came from someone I didn't expect. Lena's best friend, Mira, called me out of the blue. She was crying before I even said hello. Dylan, I shouldn't be telling you this, she said. But I can't carry it anymore. Carry what? It wasn't just about the house, she said. Lena, she had this whole vision. She called it her stability strategy. She said she needed a partner who'd give her a future she didn't have to build from scratch. Someone predictable. Someone easy to persuade. Someone with family assets and life insurance and a steady job. My throat tightened. That's not love, I said. She never wanted love, Mira whispered. She wanted security. She thought you were perfect because you were loyal and quiet and soft. I closed my eyes. She talked to Adam, Mira continued. A lot. More than she talked to you. He helped her understand what you had, what you'd eventually inherit, what your financial future looked like. He told her you were a safe bet, that you were malleable, that you were a man who wouldn't ask questions if she started making decisions. I didn't breathe. And what did she give him in return? I asked. Silence. Then Mira said the part that broke something inside me. Lena promised him stability too, but in a different way. Adam was never part of her long-term plan, unless you backed out. Then she'd date him instead. They joked about it. They called it their backup plan. Backup plan. They had a backup plan in case I didn't fall in line. My hands shook. Mira kept talking, voice barely a whisper now. She said your mom's illness was a chance to fast-track things. That it was tragic but convenient timing. She didn't care that your mother was dying, Dylan. She cared that it sped up her timeline. I felt something inside me go cold. Numb. Dead. Mira added. She told Adam she could get you to marry her before the end of the year, and once you were married, everything you had would be hers too. She said the life insurance would be a bonus. She said losing a parent makes people cling to their partner. Makes them easier to guide. Easier to guide. Easier to manipulate. Easier to own. I didn't respond. Couldn't. Because I finally understood the truth. Lena didn't love me. She didn't even like me. She loved my stability. She loved my mother's house. She loved my future assets. She loved the comfort I represented. Not the person I was. Not the son still grieving. Not the man trying to hold his family together. I was never her partner. I was her plan. Her investment. Her insurance. Her escape route from the life she didn't want. And Adam? He was the architect. The strategist. The quiet, calculating mind making sure everything lined up so Lena could step into a future she didn't earn. They didn't betray me because they were selfish or emotional or impulsive. They betrayed me because they were cold, because they viewed human lives as chess pieces, because they believed smart people take opportunities when they appear, because they couldn't imagine someone like me fighting back. But they were about to learn. Grief had taken everything from me. My mother, my sense of safety, my trust. But what it gave me was a clarity sharper than rage. A clarity I would use to burn their entire plan down to the foundation. On my terms. In broad daylight, and legally airtight. I didn't want drama. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want screaming or crying or some messy confrontation that would end up on somebody's Instagram story. I wanted proof. Hard proof. Undeniable, courtroom-grade proof. And then I wanted silence. Cold, permanent silence from the two people who thought they could build a future on top of my grief. Marcus helped me set the trap. It started with a simple move. I requested a formal HR audit on my employee profile, including workstation access logs, IP timestamps, and document history. All perfectly normal when identity tampering is suspected. IT sent me the full log within 24 hours. Adam's username was everywhere. He hadn't even tried to hide it. He'd opened my life insurance file 5 times. He'd accessed my emergency contacts. He'd viewed my salary history and benefits. He'd even downloaded my tax forms. And here was the fatal mistake. He left a digital fingerprint on every single action. The evidence was so airtight a toddler could have prosecuted it. Marcus nearly smiled. This idiot just handed you everything. Next step. I met with my lawyer, my real lawyer, and laid the entire situation out. She didn't blink. This is major. Identity intrusion. Benefits tampering. Fraud exposure. Potential conspiracy to defraud. You can dismantle both of them legally, and without ever raising your voice. That was all I needed. The next move was the one that sealed their fate. I had HR schedule a mandatory meeting with Adam. They told him it was a routine role review. Meanwhile, I filed a notarized statement of harassment and filed for a restraining order against Lena, complete with documentation of calls, texts, attempted house access, and the medical info leak. Then I contacted Kara, the clinic assistant. I didn't ask her to testify. I simply asked for a written, signed account of what happened. She provided it within a day. Suddenly, Lena and Adam's cute little backup plan turned into a paper trail. The final step was simple. I reported Adam to the State Medical Privacy Board. He didn't work in medicine, but helping someone illegally obtain protected medical information is a felony. They opened an investigation immediately. The implosion happened fast. First blow. Adam was escorted out of our office by security after HR confronted him with the evidence. He tried to spin it as helping a friend, but HR didn't care. He was terminated on the spot. No severance, no references, no access to future government contract jobs. He texted me afterward, "You didn't have to destroy my career. You're petty." I didn't respond. He destroyed himself the moment he logged into my file. Second blow. Lena was served at her workplace with a restraining order. In front of her boss. In front of her co-workers. Marcus said she cried. I don't believe he cared. She tried calling me from a new number. Something hysterical. Accusing me of sabotaging her future. Saying she'd just wanted stability. I forwarded it to my lawyer. 30 minutes later, her number was blocked and added to the file. Third blow. The clinic's corporate office followed up with Kara. They opened an internal investigation. They tracked the unauthorized access to the exact terminal she used when Lena bribed her. Kara wasn't fired. She cooperated fully. But Lena's actions were now officially documented in a HIPAA violation investigation. That meant Lena was on the radar of people far scarier than me. Fourth blow. I finalized the sale of my mom's house. 2 days after the sale closed, I mailed Lena a single envelope. Inside was a copy of the restraining order and a sticky note that said, "This was never yours." Nothing else. No insults. No explanations. No anger. Just reality. The money from the house helped my siblings and me in ways Mom would have wanted. Therapy, debt relief, time off work, a soft place to land. Her memory remained clean, untouched, protected. And as for Lena and Adam, Lena lost her job 2 months later. The restraining order made her employer nervous. The ongoing clinic investigation killed her reputation. Adam tried to get hired elsewhere, but benefits tampering disqualified him from every position that required a background check. They didn't end up together. Of course they didn't. They were parasites, not partners. They just dragged each other down on the way out. The real revenge wasn't the legal slam or the career damage or the humiliation. The real revenge was this. I walked out of that mess with my dignity intact. My family safe. My mother's memory preserved. And the quiet, solid knowledge that I ended things before they could take anything more from me. One night months later, I went to Mom's favorite diner, sat at her favorite booth, ate her favorite order, and for the first time since she died, I didn't feel the weight of Lena or Adam on my chest. Just grief. Real grief. Clean grief. The kind you heal from instead of the kind someone tries to weaponize. As I stood up to leave, I looked at the empty seat across from me and whispered, "I kept your house safe, Mom." And for the first time, it felt true. Then I walked out, paid my bill, and left the ghost of that whole nightmare behind. Because none of this ruined my life. It just revealed who was never meant to be in it. And that was enough.